All right, so we've got a bounce back in today's trade from the benchmark Nifty. Um, Gain of just 54 points to close at 17,273. But the important thing was the bounce back from the intraday lows of 17,048. So almost teasing the psychological 17K mark. Um, if we take a look at the smaller time frame, the 75-minute time frame, where we put in quite a bit of emphasis, we will notice that the index has created some kind of, or tried to create some kind of a base formation. Um, the RSI indicator has started to develop some positive divergences, bit of slant divergence on the MACD histogram. These kind of setups are very common after you see prices correcting one way for some time. Are these supports are difficult to say because, as per the volumes analysis, these kind of levels, apart from the fact that 17K is a psychological number, don't see much past strong supports. Yes, there was this particular low from where we had this bounce back, and that's exactly from where more or less the index has managed to create this base, and we have seen some volumes today. But this does not bring in that kind of confidence to say that this is it, the market's heading further up. It might be heading further up um, tomorrow from a short term perspective. The moving averages, the confluence of several VWAPs is right here, and it's coming down as the markets are stabilizing. So it's important that the index take out that 17,450 at least on the upside before it shows any kind of further strength. The trend on the 75-minute time frame, the trend on the daily time frame are both down. I call this particular kind of a setup a decoy bar. The candlestick pattern traders would figure out a nice bullish rami pattern, and if it takes out today's high of 17,304, then we can get some movement. But in terms of the underlying trend, it has just moved into a downtrend again. It's a nascent downtrend, but yes, it is a downtrend, and MACD histograms have started to also increase their height on the downside. So nothing to be too excited about. We did notice that the market was fairly divided. We had opportunities on the upside, and we had opportunities on the downside also throughout the day, and the degree of volatility was also quite a bit, starting positive, selling off, bouncing back, selling off once again, and then later in the afternoon bouncing back. So the intraday oscillation gyrations persists, and I think it's going to stay. Bank Nifty was the source of disappointment for me in this correction, and it is the source of support which came in. Most of the PSU banks did fairly well. In fact, the bank is one of the largest sectoral gainer in today's trade. However, they do not enjoy too much of weightage except SBI. Bank of Baroda is just going crazy. The good thing about this Bank Nifty daily chart is, yes, it bounced back from an intraday low of 37,386, which you can see very nice, close to this anchored VWAP. And this anchored VWAP has kind of proven itself fairly well since this particular date of 28 December, this particular low. Now, so far, so good. It's I've marked it green, so it's an uptrend. It's a strong sector. I would say relatively strong sector, which has found relatively good supports from expected supports and has given us some early bounce back. If we come closer and take a look at the volume behavior, we would see that some amount of reaccumulation is shaping up in this zone. No signs of divergences per se, I believe. Nothing happening here. So not bad, but trend is your friend. Trend is the key factor, and it's down in the 75-minute time frame, and it's up in the daily time frame, which brings us that comfort in the bank nifty, the PSU bank, that is the private sector banks, in fact the finance as well, which is kind of at a juncture. It is still just at the, rather than putting it green, I would rather make it undecided because of this um, range bound activity. Then you have the auto, which is also in a positive trend. It has created another bullish Rami pattern. And down here, the public sector enterprises and the energy. These are the sectors which are at this juncture, in terms of their trend, positive. Rest of them are at the crossroads of crossing down, or the others are in a downtrend. So, summing up today's price behavior and what can we expect. Number one, the bounce back from the intraday low was impressive, but not enough for us to go completely bullish. Um, this can lead to an opportunity to create fresh short positions if the index fails to take these levels, and if you see tomorrow or day after tomorrow that the index is facing resistances and some kind of a negativity in the price is confirming, then that would be a sign of further weakness. So probably the next day or two is not a day to create directional bias, but to wait for the confirmation to come, and then we create that particular directional bias. 60-40, I would say, or 70-30, I would say, towards the downside, primarily because the trend is down for the benchmark Nifty across the 75 and the daily time frame. And if you take a look at my sectoral indices, most of them are red, and the ones which are green, sorry, which are blue, that is at crossroads, are essentially on the verge of rolling down, not rolling up. And so it seems like the breadth of the market is heading more towards the downside. As I wrap up this video for you, take a look at the Asian markets, and especially Asian markets in the sense they're all sleeping. The SGX Nifty, that is 6 points, just nothing much there. The US equity is also flattish. Dow Jones 87 points, S&P just flat 8 points. And these indices, after selling off, the bounce back, and they're selling off again, or at least correcting again rather than using selling off. European markets were marginally negative, nothing much over there. Crude has come down 2%, as this is not bad. So this asset class seems to be slowing down a little bit. So overall, um, nothing much from the global markets that we can carry forward for tomorrow morning. But I think it will be important that we give the price, the index, a bit of time and see whether it has the strength to come up here and deal with this resistance or not. If it does, that's a good sign. We would definitely start to get some reversals on the upside. And if it doesn't, then the possibility of further downside, the break of psychological 17K, is highly on the cards then. I hope this video was useful for you to take trading decisions tomorrow. Take care of yourselves and trade well, trade wise.